Ambassador Zethkar's forearms trembled as he activated the emergency beacon, each crystalline appendage leaving frost trails in the recycled air of the council chamber. The hegemony had always prided itself on order, on the careful categorization and control of every species within their galactic domain. But now, as reports flooded in from the Outer Rim territories, that order was crumbling faster than a dying star. "The humans," whispered Counselor Vexenari, her serpentine form coiled tightly around her hovering platform. "They're using those things again." Zethkar didn't need to ask what she meant. 3 cycles ago, the Galactic Council had unanimously voted to ban all human weaponry after the liberation of Kepler 442b. The footage from that battle still haunted the Council archives, humans wielding crude metal projectiles and chemical explosives against the technologically superior Dominion forces, yet somehow emerging victorious through sheer, inexplicable tenacity. Primitive kinetic weapons, the Council had declared. Barbaric chemical propellants, energy inefficient and strategically unsound. The ban had seemed logical, even merciful. They were protecting the galaxy from humanity's own self-destructive tendencies. Now, as the Void Collective's invasion fleet swept through system after system, that ban felt like the galaxy's death sentence. The main display flickered to life, showing Admiral Sarah Chen's weathered face. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her uniform bore the scorch marks of recent combat. Behind her, the bridge of the UES Defiance bustled with activity, humans moving with the efficient chaos that had always unsettled other species. "Council," Chen began, her voice carrying that peculiar human quality of remaining steady even in the face of annihilation. "We've received your request for assistance." Zethkar's throat sacs inflated nervously. 3 days ago, the same council chamber had echoed with demands for humanity's complete disarmament. Now, with collective forces less than 20 parsecs, from the core worlds they were begging for those same banned weapons. "Admiral," Zethkar's translator rendered his clicking speech into Standard Galactic, "surely you understand the gravity of our situation. The collective's quantum weaponry has proven immune to all conventional defensive systems. Our most advanced plasma cannons barely scratch their hulls." Chen's expression didn't change, but something dangerous flickered in her eyes. "And you want to know how we plan to stop them with our primitive weapons?" On the tactical display, red dots representing collective ships moved inexorably toward Blue Council positions. In just 72 hours, they had overwhelmed the hegemony's finest fleets, their adaptive shielding and self-repairing hulls making them seem invincible. "Our intelligence suggests," Vexenari interjected, "that human weapons operate on principles our computers cannot adequately model. There are variables we don't understand." Chen actually smiled at that, an expression that somehow managed to be both reassuring and terrifying. "Variables, that's one way to put it." She gestured to something, off-screen, and the display split to show a human weapons facility. Massive industrial printers worked alongside craftsmen wielding hand tools, creating an bewildering array of devices that seemed to follow no standardized design. "See, the thing about human weapons," Chen continued, "is that they're not just tools. They're expressions of human psychology. Every rifle, every explosive, every blade carries something you can't quantify, the accumulated rage, desperation, and sheer bloody-mindedness of 10,000 years of warfare." Zethkar's assistant, a young hegemony analyst named Kretok, pulled up archived data. "Admiral, our models show that human projectile weapons should be ineffective against collective armor. The kinetic energy is insufficient, the penetration values are—" "Your models are wrong," Chen interrupted, "because they're trying to measure something that can't be measured. When a human pulls that trigger, they're not just firing a bullet. They're firing every frustration, every loss, every moment they've been told they can't win. And that," she paused, "that's what your collective is about to learn." The transmission shifted to show human forces preparing for engagement. Unlike the orderly, technology-dependent preparations of other species, the human approach seemed chaotic. Soldiers modified their weapons with improvised attachments, painted personal messages on artillery shells, and performed what appeared to be ritualistic preparations. "Observe the Battle of New Singapore," Chen said. The display showed archived footage of humans defending against a previous collective probe. Standard military doctrine would have positioned forces at optimal firing angles with maximum technological support. Instead, the humans had done something unprecedented. They had charged. "Tactically unsound," Vexnari whispered, but her voice carried a note of fascination. "Tactically impossible," Chen corrected, which is exactly why it worked. The collective's adaptive algorithms couldn't process the data. Their quantum computers, which can predict and counter any logical strategy, encountered something fundamentally illogical: human stubbornness. Zethkar felt his temperature regulators struggling to cope with the implications. "You're saying that the inefficiency of human weapons is actually advantageous?" "I'm saying that when you've spent 1,000 years perfecting warfare, you forget that war isn't about perfection. It's about will. And humans have something your computers can't calculate: the absolute refusal to accept defeat, even when defeat is mathematically certain." The council chamber fell silent except for the ambient hum of life support systems. On the display, human ships were already moving toward the collective's positions, their hulls bearing weapons that should have been obsolete centuries ago. "We estimate 18 hours until first contact," Chen reported. "Fair warning. When this is over, when we've saved your worlds with our primitive weapons, we're going to have a very different conversation about this weapons ban." Zethkar's forearms gestured in the hegemony's formal acknowledgement of understanding. "Admiral, if you succeed, I believe the Council will be amenable to renegotiation." "When we succeed," Chen corrected, and the transmission ended. As the Council members dispersed to monitor the coming battle, Zethkar remained in the chamber, staring at the tactical display. The mathematics were clear. Humanity couldn't win. Their weapons were inferior, their ships outnumbered, their technology centuries behind the collective's capabilities. But as he watched those impossible red dots begin their approach toward certain annihilation, Zethkar found himself remembering something his predecessor had once said: "Never bet against a species too stubborn to understand when they're beaten." In 18 hours, they would all learn whether human impossibility could triumph over galactic logic. The weapons were banned. The species that wielded them were not.